In May 1967, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC, led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., turned its focus on the economic problems that remained after defeating legal barriers to racial equality in the U.S. The organization believed that poverty in the U.S. was related to the Vietnam War and they were opposed to the war. By November 1967, the SCLC organized the Poor People's Campaign to address poverty.
This campaign isn't just for white people, black people, Asian people, or Native Americans, but for people of all races who are seeking to improve the condition of poverty. That is one of the interesting aspects of this campaign, as it is seeking to help people as a whole, and not everyone is united in their efforts to reach the goals of this campaign.
The campaign demanded an economic bill of rights that demanded for people to have jobs with a livable wage, to secure an efficient income and access to land for economic reasons. And for the less fortunate people, they should be able to access the capital to promote business. Also, it requested for the middle class to have a larger role in the government. The organization scheduled the campaign on April 22, 1968. The plan was to march to Washington Mall that extended to the Capitol, where the U.S. Congress met. They camped there to demand justice. Volunteers in Service to America and the Young Men's Christian Association helped spread the word of the event. Tragically, Dr. King was assassinated on the night of April 4, 1968, while attending a campaign in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. Ralph Abernathy, the vice president of the SCLC who succeeded Dr. King, decided to proceed with the campaign on April 17th, after the death of Dr. King. On April 29th, the Poor People's Campaign began to lobby various federal agencies. The committee of the campaign was mostly composed of poor people. The SCLC got permission to set up camp on Washington Mall to receive people arriving from the South. This camp was called the Resurrection City. It was the primary staging area for demonstrations at federal agencies. At one point, the camp housed over 7,000 people. A Quaker Action Group helps maintain the city, and they also participated in demonstrations. On June 5th, Senator Robert Kennedy, a political supporter, was assassinated after making a speech about his possible presidential candidacy. Some internal conflicts started to emerge as well. 2 days later, Bayard Rustin was removed from the campaign after he gave a speech on the campaign, but pushed forward a list of his own goals instead of the campaign's list of goals.
It was very hard for the campaign to be strong enough to meet our demands because of internal conflicts. For example, I had to remove Bayard Rustin, one of the SCLC's key strategists, from the campaign because he was making a speech based on his own goals and not the goals of the SCLC. This was very important because he omitted our demand to end U.S. military intervention in Vietnam, which was a major factor for the conditions that we were trying to fight against. Also, the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. really hurt our chances as a campaign, as he was a great leader and really knew how to move a crowd with his speech. After his death, the leadership of the SCLC hasn't been as efficient. And then there was the assassination of Senator Robert Kennedy, which was just rubbing salt in the wound of the campaign. Now, even though the Poor People's Campaign didn't last to reach its goals, it allowed for the voices of the poor to be heard and the obstacle of poverty to be acknowledged.
Later that day, members of the campaign went to Statler Hilton Hotel, where they were banned. They ate dinner there, but they only paid half the price for the food. Then some members had also falsely claimed police brutality, thus discrediting previous claims of brutality. This greatly weakened the campaign. The final act of mass participation of the campaign was on June 19, 1968, and 50,000 people gathered on Solidarity Day. The next day, conflict broke out between the people of Resurrection City and the police, which created a riot. On June 24th, the permit of the Resurrection City expired and inhabitants were cleared out. Later, the headquarters of the campaign was shut down. On July 13th, the campaign had come to an end. Though the campaign ended, the SCLC survived and went to create many more programs to help out oppressed groups in the U.S.